Welcome to Smart Brown Voices, your weekly podcast featuring diverse voices from around the world, giving you insights on how others made it big in their respective fields. Now sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready to be inspired. And don't forget to use hashtag #SmartBrownVoices to share insights, moments of wisdom, and things from the show that inspire you. And now, here's your host, social media nerd and technology activist, Mr. Mike Street.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Mr. Mike Street. We're back with another edition of Smart Brown Voices. Can you believe we're approaching our 100th episode? We're almost there. We only got maybe 14 more episodes to go, so we're winding it down. We're getting to episode 100. And then, we're going to be kind of rolling out like a different format because I kind of want to change up the show a little bit. So stay tuned for all of those details. But like I said, so episodes 90 through 100, I'm bringing back all of my favorite guests. We're going to bring back Paul Brenton because he just launched his TV show. And we're going to talk a lot about, all of the exciting things that he's been doing in the TV space and actually how to get a show pitched up to network and actually on the air. So that's what we're going to talk about in that episode. We did a live stream with him a couple of weeks ago, right before the show aired on TV. So check that out. And then we will have some of our other awesome, exciting guests coming up so that you can kind of just get updates of where like a lot of our past guests have been, because a lot of people who've been on this show have launched their own podcasts or have gotten funding. So it's been really exciting to kind of just see the progression of everyone after they've been blessed and gotten some love from the Smart Brown Voices community. So today's guest is, I'm excited to have him on because he's a podcast master, a virtual summit master, and he is calling us from the other side of the globe. So Yann, welcome to Smart Brown Voices.
Mr. Mike Street, if you use the word master, you make me feel like some sensei. Wax on, wax off.
So tell everyone where you're calling from, because you're calling from a pretty big distance from us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I'm literally calling from the other side of the world. And depending on where you're listening to us from, I may be way northern than where you are, because I'm calling from Helsinki, Finland. So I'm in Europe, Northern Europe.
Awesome. Well, thank you so wait, what time is it? What time is it? Because it's like
here
10
is
o'clock.
Afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Here is 5 p.m. So it's a pretty good time to be chatting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. So I've been following you for a while. You did the big, huge podcast summit. And I wanted to bring you on so that you can really talk to our audience today about like how did you create the virtual summit and just some details, because a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs and they're trying to figure out like how do they create content that can capture the attention of their target audience or their target consumers. And you're really focused in on the podcast niche and being a resource for all of us podcasters out there. So give us a bit of the history of creating the virtual summit.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So first, maybe I may start with my own experience and why I decided to launch a virtual summit about podcasting. And then I could share some advice. Should we go like that?
Sure, that's awesome.
Great. Yeah, so as you said, I'm a podcaster. I'm the host of 4 shows. I've been podcasting for a few years now, and I podcast in different niches, in the entrepreneurial space, in the podcasting space, as well as in the music business. And I've been conducting interviews for years. And for podcasting specifically, I think that I've done well over 200 interviews. And being here in Helsinki, I don't really get the chance to network with people in person as often as people in the States, for example, can do, because many conferences in the space I'm in are in North America. So sure, I have attended conferences, for example, Podcast Movement last year in Chicago. So there is that, but it's not something that one can do all the time. It's definitely an investment, the flight, the accommodation, and so forth. And the same can be said for organizing in-person events. So most of the people I interact with, I work with, or I interview are in North America, whether it's States or Canada. So again, if I wanted to organize an in-person event, it would be a lot of work, because it's a lot of work itself, plus the costs of actually flying somebody from US, from Canada, all the way to Finland. So I started to ask myself, what could I do to really maximize these connections I've made through the different interviews and do something different? I've been doing, for example, joint webinars and things like that, but I wanted to do something different. And then I said to myself, hey, wait a second. What about organizing an online conference, organizing my online event? So that would be an opportunity to build authority, get exposure, and do so while keeping the costs low. So to organize a virtual summit, you don't have to invest like $500,000 or something like that. You can definitely do it with investing or spending just a few $100s. So that's kind of the reasons why I decided to organize the Podcast Success Summit. At the time of this interview, I've been working on the second edition, and I know, Mike, you know this because I've invited you to be a speaker for this year's edition. I'm really excited about that. But last year's edition, 2016, was the first one. As you said, it was massive. It was very long. I think it was something like 25 days, and we had 80 speakers. So it was the biggest digital conference about podcasting in the world, and it was really crazy, but it went well, and many people got value from it. And I know I've learned a lot from the logistical point of view, for sure.
I mean, you pretty much had all of the major podcasters on the Success Summit. You released it out as video series so people could log in and they could watch, you interviewing, some of the major voices and major people who are in the podcasting space. And each topic was very different, and it gave a lot of people insight. So if you watch the whole thing, you should be up and running as a podcaster, because it was just a lot of education and information for you to really take yourself from no podcasting to being up and running in the iTunes store, and also figuring out like how to monetize what you're doing. But for the people who are listening who may not be like super familiar with virtual summits, give us kind of just like a 30-second breakdown of exactly what happens.
Yeah, sure. So as I said, a virtual summit is basically a digital conference, and typically is a video conference. So as you said, Mike, the Podcast Success Summit, for example, is basically a series of video-based interviews, panels of discussion, and things like that. And a virtual summit is like that. So you have you or the host interviewing somebody, and in most cases, those interviews are pre-recorded. For me personally, if I were in a different time zone, I would have tried to do the interviews as live sessions, because that way, attendees, people who join the summit, could not only get value from the information that is shared, but also get direct access to the speakers, which is always a good thing to do. However, it's pretty much impossible in my case, because, for example, last year, there was one day where I started my day at 10 a.m., interviewed somebody from Australia. After a couple of hours, it was late morning, I interviewed somebody from the UK. In the early afternoon, I interviewed somebody from Nigeria. And then in the afternoon, I interviewed somebody from the East Coast. And I wrapped up the day with an interview around 7 or 8 p.m. my time with somebody from the West Coast. So there would be no way to make that work, especially if you have several speakers involved. So the way it works is like this. You have content, so as we said, video interviews, and you make them available for people. And typically those video sessions are available for people to watch for free for a certain window of time. It can be 24 hours, 48 hours, usually is within that time window. And people, the only thing have to do, attendees I'm talking about here, they have to sign up for your email list. So give you their email address, a name if that's an information you want to have. And then they will receive access to the virtual summit. And typically, they are just like at a conference, there is a schedule and the sessions are available according to the schedule. So let's say if you were to organize a 3-day virtual summit, you would have few sessions on day 1, few sessions on day 2, few sessions on day 3. And every day, attendees receive an email that says, hey, here's how you can access the sessions of the day. So there is a link to a web page that is password protected. So only those who signed up for your email list get to access that. And then the way it's monetized, or the main way I should say it's monetized, is by offering an all access pass. So that basically is something that people pay for and get lifetime access to all the sessions, so they can access them whenever they want at their own pace. And often there is also a series of bonuses and things like that. So this is a virtual summit in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So for guys, listening to this stuff, if you really want to kind of like kill it in your industry, a virtual summit might be the way to go for you if you're looking to get attention, especially if you're still, you're kind of just starting out in a particular space and you really want to be, seen as one of the thought leaders in the space. Having 80 voices, who are masters at podcasting that everybody respects, is going to get you a lot of attention. So think about like, how can you do something like this in the niche that you're in? So if you're in, natural hair or beauty or anything in between, think about like how you might be able to leverage a virtual summit just to create content and then get it in front of your target audience becomes a really valuable asset that people are going to come back to. So I wanted to ask you, Yann, just in terms of tools, because it seems like, you're recording video, audio, you have to have a website. What are all the tools that someone would need to launch their own virtual summit?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we dive into the question, Mike, I just want to add one thing, and is that if you're here with Mike and I, and you're thinking about a virtual summit, you don't have to interview 80 people, you don't have to interview 50 people, you don't have to interview 30 people. I know of virtual summits that have 12 speakers, 14, 16, 20. So you shouldn't take the number 80 as the guideline and go, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. Absolutely not. You can even organize the virtual summit with just 10 speakers. So the number of speakers isn't something that should stop you from getting started with a virtual summit. Now, back to your question, Mike, there are definitely a few tools that are needed. And actually it's interesting because that's something that I got asked a lot, because as I said, the summit was 25 days. So people heard from me every single day from that window of time. And some people were asking me questions from the gear I use for recording to the email marketing software and so forth. So what you need to keep things simple, and I love keeping things simple. So oftentimes when we hear about something, let's say like a virtual summit or even a podcast, we think, there are 200 moving parts and it's so sophisticated and must cost a lot of money to organize a virtual summit. Absolutely not. So what you want to do first and foremost, you want to have some kind of website, and the website has to be pretty simple. So you want to have one page where you have information on the summit, the schedule, who's speaking, and you want to have a button for people to get their free ticket. So that basically is signing up for your email list. And this leads to the second step. So we need a website and an email marketing service. And if you're in the online business space, then you are probably using one already. My favorite one, the one I use, is called Active Campaign, and they have a free trial. So if you don't have an email marketing service, you can check it out, and it allows you to do simple things as well as pretty sophisticated and complex automations and things like that. But again, you can start simple. So we have a website, we have an email marketing service, and this is what makes the summit work in terms of a person lands on the page, they like what they see, they want the free ticket, they sign up for the email list. on the back end, what we want to do, obviously, is have something that allows us to accept payments because we're going to have the all access pass. So typically that could be Stripe or PayPal, something like that. There are different tools you can use. You can use PayPal and or Stripe directly and have the buttons from Stripe, from PayPal onto your website and then accept payments from those. Or you can connect them to other services, to payment gateways and things like that. So that's if you're selling something online, you probably have a system for accepting payments already. So that works. So website, email, payment processor, and then you want to have your content. So how do you go about recording interviews? Well, this year I've changed things around a little bit. Last year, I actually used Skype as the platform for communicating with the speakers. And I used a tool called Ecamm Call Recorder to record the video interviews. Now, that's a tool that works for Mac only. If you're on a PC, or even if you are on a Mac, you may want to look into the option I'm using this year, which is using YouTube Live, also known as Google Hangouts. And what I like about that is that it records automatically. So as soon as you start an interview with somebody, they record automatically. And as soon as you're done, you have your video. So there are a few different ways you can go about recording video. You just want to make sure that it's something that is easy for people to do. If you have to ask people to look for a program, download, install, things start to get very complicated and maybe somebody doesn't want, right, Mike? Because it's a bit like for a podcast. Yeah, it's like same like this interview we're doing. Well, I'm a podcaster, so it's different. But if you or I, as interviewers, we interview somebody who isn't a podcaster and we say, yeah, so you have to look for this program and then download and install. Some people may say, well, I'm sorry, but I don't want to install a brand new software for a 30-minute interview. So what you want to do, keep things simple. Once you have your videos, you want to make sure that, first of all, you have a way of storing them, because you never know. So you want to have, at the very least, a folder on something like Dropbox or Google Drive. And I personally add the raw unedited videos. As soon as I finish the interview, I put them there so the interviews don't get lost. And then you can also have an hard disk or something like that where you can add them. I do both. But if you want to keep things simple, something like Dropbox or Google Drive would do. Next up, once you have recorded your video and then you have saved it somewhere, there may be instances where you want to do a little bit of editing. Maybe there is a part you want to get rid of, or you want to add a little bit of music, an animation, or something like that. In that case, there are a few different options you can go for. I have used ScreenFlow as the tool for recording and editing my videos, but that again is a tool that works only for a Mac. If you're on a PC, you can look for a tool called Camtasia, or look for another tool I use called Filmora. And Filmora works with Mac and PC, which is great. And nice. Me too. And I love it so much. It has a pretty powerful interface and you can do a lot of different things. But in this case, the use we would want to make of it is to simply edit. So if, for example, your speaker sneezes or something like that, you can easily just use a tool like that to edit the video out. Now, once the videos are polished, are ready to go, you don't want to upload your video files straight onto your website because those are probably going to be pretty big files. What you want to do is to use a video hosting platform like Wistia or Vimeo. I personally use Vimeo. I've used Wistia in the past, but I use Vimeo. And what Vimeo allows you to do is to upload your videos on the platform and then embed them from Vimeo or Wistia to your website so that your website won't slow down. So to recap, you want to have a website, an email marketing service, a way to accept payments. You want to have a way to communicate with your speakers in video form and a tool for recording. You want to have a way to save your videos, store them, Dropbox, a hard disk or something like that. Then you want to have a tool that allows you to edit your videos where necessary. You want to make sure that you provide a product that is polished, because at the end of the day, you're also going to sell the summit with the all access pass. And then last but not least, you want to have a video hosting platform. So this is pretty much what you need in terms of the creation and the management of the content. And I don't know, Mike, would you like me to touch upon the affiliate side of things for a moment?
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said early on, the main way you would monetize a virtual summit is by actually selling lifetime access to the videos plus some bonus content you may have. And you can definitely promote your summit by yourself, but you can also get speakers and affiliates involved. The way it works typically is that you would offer a 50% commission rate for every sales that happens through a speaker or an affiliate's link. So there are different ways you can go about this. I, for example, use a tool called Affiliate WP. Is a WordPress plugin. So your site, in order to use this tool, has to be a WordPress site, a self-hosted WordPress site. And basically the way it works is once you have set things up in the backend, every affiliate or every speaker gets a special link that is the one they're going to use in their promotion. And whenever a sale occurs, it's automatically registered and the speaker is gonna get a commission. And I've spoken at virtual summits as well, and it's always nice when you get to, you get to make a few sales here and there. But my main tip, and is it okay, Mike, if I share a tip for those who are interested also in speaking at virtual summits? Great, thank you. My main tip, if you're interested or are invited to speak at a virtual summit and you think the audience, attendees, the group of people who are tuning in are exactly the audience you would like to be exposed to, then I would encourage you to create a landing page. And obviously, if it's okay with the host, to mention it during the interview. And I written an article about this because I spoken at a virtual summit a few months ago called Infopreneur Summit. And because of this approach with creating a landing page and mentioning the link during the interview, I generated, if I remember correctly, 112 new subscribers in less than 48 hours. So if you are in the online business space, then you know that email subscribers are very, very important. And if you have email automations set up and things like that, you can also convert some of those subscribers into customers. So this is a side note if you're interested or are invited at speaking at conferences, at virtual summits. Now, as the person who organizes the virtual summit, you want to make sure that you get people involved. And not only speakers are the obvious choice, but you also want to look at people in your network, people in your community who may not be speaking at the event, but who are definitely interested in helping with the promotion, and they will get an affiliate link as well. So in that case, you want to look into a tool, whether it's Affiliate WP or something else. There are plenty of options that allows you to create and manage an affiliate program so that everything happens pretty much automatically. People get the link. You can give them promotional materials like email scripts, images, and things like that. So that's one way. And another way you can monetize with a virtual summit is by selling what you already sell. So if you have products or services that you sell and those are related to the content of your virtual summit, then you could definitely consider leveraging the virtual summit as an opportunity to pitch those products. Perhaps you can offer a discount for people who buy the all access pass or something like that. So That's the second way you can monetize. And a third way is by actually collaborating and have sponsors. So if there are companies in your niche that you're a fan of, or maybe whose products or services you use and you would like to partner with, you can reach out to them, you can create a sponsorship package, and if they're interested, they're gonna pay you a sponsor's fee, and in return you would feature them on the event homepage, maybe in some of the emails you send out and things like that. So these are 3 different ways you can leverage a virtual summit to monetize. My biggest tip when it comes to organizing a virtual summit, and some people may agree, some people may disagree with this. I have spoken at virtual summits. I've organized my own virtual summit, so I can give you the perspective as both the host and the speaker. I can tell you many people refer to virtual summits as the one magical thing, the silver bullet that is going to change your business and your life, and organize a virtual summit and you're going to get 20,000 new email subscribers and you're going to make a bunch of money and things like that. Actually, that isn't necessarily true. Oftentimes, people who share that kind of advice aren't 100% transparent. So they don't tell you that, yeah, they made X, but they had to spend Y in Facebook ads. So it's not that everything happened for free, number one. And number two, and I'd seen this as well with the Podcast Success Summit, you may generate a lot of leads, but quite a good chunk of those people who sign up for your email list are going to unsubscribe once the summit is finished. And that's okay. You don't want to have people who aren't interested in what you do on your email list. But again, if you're thinking about virtual summit just because of the numbers, yeah, I'm going to get 10,000 subscribers, make a lot of money, I would encourage you to be careful and rather approach a virtual summit as an opportunity to establish yourself as an expert, as a go-to guy or gal in your industry.
Well, Yann, thank you so much for dropping all of that awesome knowledge on this. I hope everyone who's been listening to this episode, you're going to go out there and really think hard about, is a virtual summit like something that you can use for your business? But, like Yann was saying that, it may not make you $1 million, but it may help to make you an expert in the space that you're trying to reach. And then, you become an asset, just like the show, Smart Brown Voices has become an asset for many entrepreneurs of color who aren't, getting featured on many of these shows out there, but, they've been able to leverage the space to go on and to do great things. And that's what we're going to really focus on through episode 90 and 10, because this show has had a lot of impact on, people getting funding or people getting, taking their careers to the next level, because they've kind of used it as an audition tape or for some other things. So, I'm really going to show some of that success and how that's, so how creating that content really helped to, push me and then a lot of other people forward and in their careers and in everything that they're doing. So, Yann, when is the next virtual summit?
Yeah, so I haven't announced the dates yet, but it's going to be in mid-September. So the dates are coming out very, very soon. If you're interested in actually learning more about the Podcast Success Summit, or more importantly, if you're interested in getting a recap of the tools I mentioned here, I know that I mentioned many different names. Filmora, you're like, how do you spell it? How does it work? What was the name again? No worries. I've actually put together a page that you can go to that summarizes these tools and actually share additional tips there in terms of organizing a virtual summit and my experience. So you can just go, and I know Mike, you'll have probably this link in the show notes, but you can go to yannilunga.com/smartbrown, all one word. So yannilunga.com, and that is spelled YANNILUNGA. So yannilunga.com/smartbrown, all one word. you can sign up there for my email list, and I'm going to send you a series of emails. First of all, with the recap of the tools, what I like, what I used and I won't use again. So I share everything there. And then I'm also going to share additional tips. And of course, if you have questions, then you can simply reply to one of the emails that are sent to you, because there's actually me behind those emails. And I'm always happy to hear from people and answer questions, of course.
And guys, Yann's website is amazing. It's got like a whole bunch of cool resources. It's also really pretty. I was kind of jealous when I was looking at the website. I was like, oh, he's got like some really cool pictures, and the color scheme is really good. So make sure you check it out and sign up for everything. And he's got some really good tutorials on there as well. Like if you need to learn how to make a funnel. Mm-hmm. And I know I've been talking to a lot of my clients recently about funnels, and it's something that's going over people's heads. But if you want to learn how to make a funnel, please check out his website. He's got some great, I think it's like a 3-part tutorial that you have on your website about making funnels. I need to learn more about making funnels as well.
Yeah, you said it. Funnels, podcasting. I also have a Facebook group about podcasting. You can just go to the page I mentioned, yannilunga.com/smartbrown, and I'll make sure in the first email to mention all the different free courses, the Facebook group I have, so that you can choose the area that you're interested in the most.
Well, Yann, thank you so much for hooking up the Smart Brown Voices community. I think this was a really great episode. I hope you guys really learned a lot because he dropped so much knowledge in this episode. And he's going to send you resources so you can get started. So if you're going to launch a virtual summit, please make sure that you book myself or Yann on your virtual summit because we'll be happy to come on.
Well, Mike, thank you so much. This has been fun. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And if you've been thinking about a virtual summit, you've gotten some tips here. I mentioned the resources and additional strategies that I'm going to share. But the final words I would have for everybody is just do it. By doing it, you're going to learn a lot of things. And you're going to see whether it's something you want to do again or not. Because, for example, that's how I approached Virtual Summit. I said, well, I'm going to do it one time and see how it goes. And then it was such a good experience. It got such a good impact and growth, and it served as an authority building asset for my brand and business that now I've actually addressed it as my yearly digital conference. So if you've been here on Smart Brown Voices and you're like, virtual summits sound interesting, then just go for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Yann, and thank you much, guys, for listening to this episode. We will be back with more.
Thanks for listening to Smart Brown Voices with your host, Mr. Mike Street. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts, and make sure to follow us on social media. This has been a Mr. Mike Street production. Join us next time for another edition of Smart Brown Voices, and be inspired.